You barely notice the vibration. At first, your phone a cold rectangle in your palm, the blue light blinking through the last sliver of dusk. There's a pause before you read the message, like your body is warning you to savor your final moment of peace. But you swipe anyway. The words are short, surgical, locks changed. You don't have a home anymore. No punctuation, not even your name. Just like that, you're erased, not kicked out, deleted like a smudge on glass. You stare at the message until the text blurs, hoping if you blink enough, your mom's words might rearrange themselves into a joke, a test, something less final. But your hope is thin, the kind that evaporates the second you stand in front of your own front door keys, useless, your mother's voice, an echo of every warning you ignored. It isn't until you try the lock once, twice desperately that you finally accept it. The door doesn't budge. The hall is quieter than you remember, like even the walls are holding their breath waiting for you to break. You breathe in the familiar scent of your old life, cheap jasmine air freshener and shoe polish, and you realize you'll never smell it again. That's when the panic sneaks up on you, the question that hisses in your chest: where are you going to sleep tonight? You scroll through your phone thumb, hovering over contacts you haven't bothered in years. There's a stinging shame, raw and sticky, because there's nothing dignified about begging for a couch when the person who raised you just locked you out without warning. But you force yourself to text first. Your old roommate, then a work friend who always liked your stories. Finally, your cousin who owes you at least 3 favors. You dress the request in humor, lace it with sarcasm, pretend you just need a little adventure for a few nights. It's easier to make light of it than to let anyone see you crumbling. You wait for the 3 dots to bounce. One by one, they reply. You get a yes, then maybe, then an out of town, sorry. But the yes is enough for now. You shoulder your bag, try to ignore the way it's bulging with everything you could grab in 3 panicked minutes: laptop, 2 shirts, the photo of you and your mom on the beach before the world shifted. The walk away from the house is slow. Every step feels heavy, like gravity's playing a cruel joke. You imagine your mother inside, feet up, satisfied. Maybe she's already moved your things out. Maybe she hasn't even noticed how empty her voice sounded when she sent that text. The truth. You don't know which hurts more, the loss of your home or the loss of her warmth. You replay the years in your mind, her hands in your hair, her laughter on birthdays, her silence the first time you disappointed her. You tell yourself you're fine, that you'll be stronger for this. But there's a tear sliding down your cheek before you can stop it. You wipe it away, laugh at yourself under your breath. Come on, seriously, and keep walking. Your friend's apartment is cramped, smells like pizza and cheap wine. But she greets you with a hug that lingers, lets you collapse on her futon without a single question. Later, lying awake in the dark, you scroll back through your mother's text. You read it over and over as if there's a secret message hiding between the lines. There isn't. You're not just locked out, you're unwanted. And as you lie there, the numbness starts to harden into something sharper, something dangerous. You promise yourself quietly, this will not be the end of your story. The futon creaks when you turn over, but you don't care. Sleep comes in fragments, fitful, haunted by memories and things you should have said. Tomorrow you know you'll have to start building a new life from scratch. But tonight, as your eyelids finally close, the last thing you feel is the cold edge of that message and the strange secret spark it leaves in your chest. The world has turned against you. But maybe that's the beginning of something you never saw coming. Mornings in someone else's home have a special sting. You wake before your friend does, listening to her soft, even breaths, the rumble of traffic outside a city that doesn't care whose mother slammed which door. You force yourself to lie still a moment, fighting the urge to check your phone. But it's there, always there, that silent screen with its short, sharp sentence. The text is a punchline that never lands. Your mind chews on it restless. Was it punishment? A test, a final statement. Why now? Why you? You wonder what you could have done differently, and then you wonder why you're still wondering at all. There's no good answer. Maybe there never was. You want to text her some frantic, pleading message that would make her remember your old inside jokes, the way you used to braid her hair, the promises she made when you were young. But you don't. Pride, or maybe self respect, keeps your fingers frozen. Instead, you shuffle into your friend's kitchen. She makes coffee without a word, sliding the mug across the counter. You meet her eyes, and she gives you a smile so soft it's almost embarrassing. You thank her voice hoarse and crack a joke about squatting in her living room. She laughs and says you can stay as long as you want. You both know it's a lie. You're not made for the long-term guest life. You feel every minute of it, the strain in the air, the shared silences. You start to see yourself from the outside, rumpled clothes, borrowed toothbrush, the kind of desperation you always thought belonged to someone else. The next few nights you bounce between couches and guest rooms. You learn who's truly your friend and who's only let's grab lunch close. Each night you practice your story, shaving down the edges, making it sound less tragic and more like an odd adventure. Sometimes you go quiet in the middle of telling it, and the look on your friends' faces tells you they understand more than you want to admit. There's pity, sure, but also something else, envy maybe, that you're free in a way they'll never have to be. No one says it out loud. You keep smiling, keep joking. It's a survival skill now. Deep down, your anger simmers. It's the quiet kind, slow and hot, that sharpens every thought and stiffens your spine. You scroll through rental listings at midnight, eyes burning. Your money won't last forever. But something stubborn inside you refuses to go home and beg. If she wants to erase you, you'll write yourself back in with a vengeance. One afternoon, your friend leaves for work and you sit alone in her apartment, sunlight striping the floor. You stare at the ceiling and whisper a promise: never again. You will never be this powerless, this dependent, this disposable. The city hums outside alive with opportunity and danger, and you decide you're going to rise, not shrink. You will climb out of this hole if only to show her she didn't break you, she only remade you. You jot down a list on your phone, any job, any gig, any open door. Babysitting, waiting tables, copywriting, even that weird startup with the too good to be true commission. You take everything. You scrub dishes, answer phones, haul boxes, smile until your cheeks ache. Every dollar you pocket feels like one brick in the foundation of something new, something nobody can take away. There are nights you can't sleep. You stare at the ceiling, picturing your mom in that house, sitting in your old spot, maybe missing you, maybe not. You let the sadness in just a little, but you never let it win. There's no room for pity parties on someone else's couch. The world, you realize, is full of people quietly rooting for you to fail. Not just your mom, but everyone who's ever looked past you, doubted you, written you off. You let that fact settle in your bones. If you're going to rise, it will be on your own terms, in your own way. The ache of betrayal becomes fuel, pure uncut determination. You start to see the faintest outline of your future traced in hunger and hustle. And late at night, when your friend is asleep and your phone is silent, you look at that text one last time. Locks changed. You don't have a home anymore. You smile, a little crooked and a little bitter, and you whisper back, "We'll see about that." The first paycheck isn't much. It lands in your bank account with a whisper, not a shout. Still, you sit at the bus stop that Friday afternoon, staring at your phone like the numbers might somehow rearrange themselves into hope. It's barely enough for groceries, maybe a cheap haircut, and a secondhand pair of shoes that don't pinch your feet. But it's yours. No one handed it to you. No one can take it away. You splurge a little. Buy a pastry from the bakery you used to walk past with your mom. As you bite into it, sugar sticks to your fingertips, and you remember how she'd insist on splitting every treat, always taking the bigger half for herself, but acting like she was doing you a favor. It should make you bitter, but instead you just feel oddly free. The whole city is humming with possibility, and for the first time since that text, you let yourself feel something other than rage. You ride the bus home, well, not home, but back to your borrowed futon with your head pressed to the window. The city lights smear across your vision, each one a silent promise. You belong here, even if no one else believes it yet. You replay every hard lesson in your mind, each humiliation and kindness. Your friend, the couches, the endless job apps, the cheap ramen. Every scrap of it matters. You decide you're going to remember every step, every bruise, every small win. It's at work during a mindless hour sorting files in a cramped basement office that you overhear a conversation about someone flipping houses for a living. It sounds outlandish, like something people do on reality shows, not real life. But the word sticks in your head, buzzing like a trapped fly. You Google it during lunch, reading stories of people who started with nothing and wound up running entire blocks. It seems impossible, laughable. You almost close the tab, but you don't. Instead, you start poking around, asking questions you hope sound casual. You watch YouTube videos about credit scores and down payments and government grants. Each new bit of information feels like a step up from the pit you've been thrown into. Your coworkers think you're just being nosy. Maybe you are, but behind your polite smile, you're stashing away facts and figures, ideas and dreams. You start setting aside small amounts of money, every tip, every birthday card from distant relatives, every rebate check from a warranty you forgot you bought. Your spreadsheet grows longer, but the gap between what you have and what you need is still a canyon. Some nights you lie awake doing the math, heart pounding with a mix of terror and hope. Will it ever be enough? Then, one day, you get a call from an old high school acquaintance, someone who always seemed to have the world figured out. She asks if you want to grab coffee. You almost say no. But you go sitting across from her in a crowded cafe, your hands wrapped around a mug that's too hot to hold comfortably. She talks about her job, her new apartment, her upcoming trip to Bali. She barely asks about you. But when she does, you find yourself talking about your dreams, your hustle, your wild idea to own something, anything nobody can lock you out of. She laughs, but not unkindly. Why not? She says. Stranger things have happened. She offers you a lead on a part-time gig, something flexible, something that pays just enough to make your spreadsheet feel less like a fantasy. You thank her, even though you know she'll forget your story the moment you leave. But that's fine. You remember. On the way home, you walk past your old block. The lights are on in your mom's window. You feel a twist in your stomach, a pang of something you're not ready to name. But as you keep walking, you realize you don't want to go back. Not now, maybe not ever. You're building something better brick by careful brick. That night, you open your spreadsheet and double your someday number. It's ambitious, maybe even delusional. But you can taste it now. The smallest win has woken something stubborn inside you, a sense of dignity, sharp as sunlight through dirty glass. You're not going to beg for love or a roof again, not when the city is wide open and you've finally got your own set of keys, no matter how cheap they might be. You get used to living in fragments, your days split between jobs and side hustles, your nights given to restless ambition. Every morning, you promise yourself that today you'll save just a little more, learn just a little faster. You become a collector of small wins, a compliment from a manager, a dollar shaved off a grocery bill, a new shortcut discovered on your commute. No one sees how much effort it takes, this endless tightrope walk between scraping by and falling through the cracks. After work, you slip into the public library laptop tucked under your arm and lose yourself in research. You read blogs about first-time buyers, scan government pamphlets on affordable housing, take notes on neighborhoods and property taxes. The librarians start to recognize you. One of them, a gentleman with tired eyes, slides you a book on building wealth from nothing when he thinks no one's looking. You devour it, underline every other sentence copy. The most hopeful ones onto sticky notes you slap above your friend's kitchen sink. You start looking at every building differently. That rundown duplex with the cracked steps. You imagine its bones, the lives that have passed through. The faded apartment blocks along the bus route become blueprints in your mind, possibilities instead of obstacles. You haunt online forums lurking in threads about auctions and city grants. There are nights you fall asleep with numbers spinning behind your eyelids, mortgage rates, down payments, contractor quotes. Sometimes you wake in a cold sweat, sure you'll never break out of this cycle. But then you remember this is temporary. You refuse to let fear fossilize into hopelessness. Your savings grow glacial but steady. Every time you transfer another handful of dollars into your little someday fund, you feel a jolt of pride, followed by a sting of resentment. You remember how easy it looked for your mother, how she moved through the world with a certainty you can't fake. You wonder if she ever felt this kind of uncertainty, this stomach-knotting anxiety about where you'll sleep, what you'll eat, who will care if you disappear. That bitterness sits heavy in your chest, but it keeps you moving forward. Then, just when you're finding your rhythm, you hit a wall. Your hours get cut at your main job. The part-time gig fizzles out. Your friend's patience starts to thin small annoyances, piling up until she sighs more than she laughs. You see her hesitation when you mention another month, feel the tension rise when you linger too long in the kitchen, or forget to buy toilet paper. One night after a silent dinner, she finally says it. You can't stay forever, you know. You nod heart in your throat, promising yourself you won't. You take on odd jobs, pet sitting, flyering for local businesses, even helping a retired landlord clean out his garage. It's the landlord who gives you your first taste of what power looks like from the other side. He talks about bad tenants, late rent, broken appliances. But beneath his complaints is a smug satisfaction. He owns the roof, the rules, the very air inside those walls. You leave with $20 and a new understanding the people with the keys get to decide the story. On your loneliest days, you talk to your mom in your head. You imagine what you'd say if she'd answer her phone, what apology you'd demand, what apology you'd refuse. Sometimes you think about sending her a picture of your someday fund, just to prove you're surviving. Other times you dream of showing up on her doorstep head high and saying nothing at all. But you never do. Instead, you use the ache as fuel. Late one night, after a shift mopping floors, you finally let yourself believe it's possible. You pull up listings for the cheapest studio apartments on the city's rougher side. Your heart pounds as you email the first landlord. You remind yourself that every person who ever built something started with nothing but a stubborn idea. Maybe you're not special, but you're stubborn. That will have to be enough. And when you finally close your eyes, bone-tired and anxious, you whisper your new mantra. You will never be powerless again. You are learning, growing, grinding your teeth if you have to. But you are not giving up. Not now. Not ever. The studio is smaller than you pictured, cracked linoleum pipes that groan at midnight, and a single window that never quite shuts out the city's noise. You sign the lease anyway, hands shaking, feeling both triumphant and terrified. This place isn't home, not yet, but it's yours. The first night you lie on a mattress on the floor listening to the hum of your neighbor's television and the echo of your mother's message in your head. Locks changed. You don't have a home anymore. You smile at the ceiling stubborn. Maybe she took that home, but she can't touch this. You unpack your life, 2 bags of clothes, a chipped mug, a battered laptop, and that beach photo, sun-bleached edges curled. The rest you left behind, or your mom gave away. You look around at the bare walls and feel both exposed and unburdened. It's a blank slate. The first meal you cook here is noodles eaten cross-legged on the floor sauce, straight from the pan. It's not glamorous, but the taste of independence is spicy and warm. You promise yourself that one day you'll have a real table, maybe even a real bed. The building is a collection of lives stitched together by thin walls. You meet your neighbors, in passing a nurse who works nights, a college kid who throws parties on weekends, an elderly woman who waters her plants with whispered prayers. There's a kind of camaraderie in this broken down place, everyone hustling to make something of their lives. You trade stories in the laundry room, learn who's safe, who to avoid, who knows a guy who can fix a leaky faucet for $10 in a six-pack. You start to feel less alone. Yet there are nights when the silence presses in thick and accusing. The loneliness is a living thing, curling up at the foot of your mattress. You scroll through your phone, resisting the urge to call your mom, not for her comfort, but to prove something to yourself. You hold the urge at bay. This is your test. If you can survive this mold on the bathroom ceiling, the neighbor's cat yowling rent due in 3 days, then maybe you can survive anything. Your spreadsheet grows even as your paychecks shrink. You teach yourself to fix what you can't afford to replace. You buy groceries with coupons, learn to mend your own clothes, chase every gig that pays. You attend city council meetings just to listen to learn how the machinery of power works. There's a strange thrill in understanding property laws, zoning, changes the backroom language of developers. Each fact is a weapon, each scrap of knowledge a shield. You hide your ambition. No one in your building knows about the notebook under your bed, filled with sketches of floor plans and rough calculations. You keep your head down, your smile quick and small, your plans tucked behind your teeth. There's satisfaction in this secret life power, in the privacy of your dreams. One rainy Saturday, your mom texts again. Not an apology, not a check-in, just a photo of the family dog sleeping in your old room. The subtext is cruel and obvious. You almost reply. Instead, you close the message, toss your phone onto the pile of laundry, and pour all your energy into scrubbing the grout in your shower until your hands ache. But late that night, as the city rattles and the pipes groan, you feel something shift. The bitterness is still there, but beneath it, pride is growing. You're here still standing, still stubborn. You survived your mother's coldest moment and built something however shaky, however small on your own. And even in this dingy studio with its moldy corners and thin walls, you realize you've started to like the sound of your own heartbeat echoing in a place that belongs to you. You've learned to recognize hope by its disguise as the envelope, with a bonus check, the landlord's nod after your on-time rent, the way sunlight slants through your one crooked window and makes even peeling paint look golden. Hope is a habit, now less a feeling, more a discipline you practice every time you open your laptop and refresh the listings. You set alerts for foreclosures, low-interest loans, city programs no one talks about. If knowledge is power, then you're amassing an arsenal, one late-night search at a time. The idea comes slow, but once it's there, it won't let go. You watch the house across the street, a faded yellow bungalow, wild grass up to the porch, and learn its rhythms. The for sale sign leans out front for months, untouched by neighbors or time. You study the price drops, calculate numbers in the margins of your notepad. You know, it's a reach almost reckless, but you start talking to banks, learning the lingo, escrow, inspection leverage. Each conversation is a mix of nerves and bravado, your voice steady even when your heart isn't. The day the offer is accepted, you're alone in your studio phone, to your ear hands shaking so hard you almost drop it. The agent congratulates you, robotic, cheerful, and for a moment you're suspended between disbelief and euphoria. It's a modest house, hardly worth bragging about, but it's a stone's throw from the address you once called home. You laugh out loud, startled by the sound, then fall silent, letting the truth settle in. You did this. No help, no shortcuts, no one to bail you out. You made it happen. You keep it to yourself, savoring the secret. Your old friends wouldn't understand, and your mom, well, she's the last person you'd want to share the news with. Still, you find yourself drawn to the block where it all began. You walk by your childhood house, watch the curtains twitch, the porch light flicker on and off. You wonder if your mother has any idea how close you are, how the lock she changed only fueled your resolve. The first night in your new place is equal parts celebration and anticlimax. The rooms echo with emptiness, the kind that's more exhilarating than sad. You drag in your mattress, your chipped mug, that photo from the beach. You sit on the porch steps as dusk falls, letting the cool air wash over you. The street is quiet, but you feel electric, wired with possibility. You own this. The keys are heavy in your hand, evidence that you've rewritten your story, even if it's just one page at a time. You don't decorate much, not at first. You work long hours, save every extra dollar, and pour everything back into repairs. You learn how to sand floors, patch drywall, fix a stubborn faucet. There's a pride in the blisters, the chipped nails, the slow, visible progress. You keep your head down, stay focused. When the loneliness creeps back in, you remind yourself this is what freedom looks like. It isn't glamorous, but it's real. Your mother's house is visible from your new front window. Sometimes you catch her on the porch, phone pressed to her ear, laughing with someone you don't recognize. There are days you ache to march across the street and demand an explanation or just flaunt your new keys. But you don't. You've learned patience, a sly, silent sort. Instead, you let the knowledge settle deep in your bones. You are building something she can never take from you. On weekends, you walk the block, notebook in hand, studying other properties, vacant lots, rundown duplexes, even the sad little convenience store with the flickering neon sign. You talk to neighbors, ask subtle questions, keep your plans quiet. There's a thrill in moving in silence, in slowly acquiring power without anyone noticing. Every yes from a seller, every signed deed is another quiet triumph. And every time you cross your old front yard, every time you hear your mother's laughter drift across the evening, you remind yourself, this is just the beginning. You're not done yet, not by a long shot. Momentum builds the way rain fills a bucket slowly at first, then all at once. You acquire your next property with less hesitation the third, with a practiced smile and a signature that barely shakes. The real estate agent starts greeting you by name, and you begin to feel a shift. People listen more carefully, return your calls a little faster, look you in the eye with something like respect. You remain anonymous to most, just another investor in worn jeans and sturdy boots. But each transaction feels like rewriting the story you inherited line by stubborn line. You grow bolder, targeting buildings you once thought untouchable, the crumbling duplex on the corner, the row of shuttered storefronts where you used to buy candy as a child. You learn to spot opportunity in decay. You walk the block at dawn and dusk, noting who comes and goes, which windows are dark, which roofs sag and surrender. Your world shrinks to this neighborhood, the one that once exiled you, now the backdrop for your quiet campaign. Every purchase is powered by a cocktail of emotions, anger, yes, but also something quieter and sharper. Each signed deed is proof that the locks your mother changed were never the end, just the opening credits. You pay contractors in cash when you can barter favors for paint jobs, pick up a sledgehammer yourself when funds run thin. There's satisfaction and sweat in late nights spent scraping old wallpaper and seeing forgotten buildings come alive again. Your hands develop calluses, your nails are perpetually dusted with plaster, but you've never felt cleaner. You keep your work under wraps. You let neighbors believe you're just another landlord and out-of-towner with a passing interest in property. Even your closest friend, she of the futon and the midnight talks, doesn't know the full scope. You share victories in small ration bursts. Got another one you text with a photo of a gleaming new key. She replies with fireworks, emojis, pride in every message. But you both know the story is bigger than you're telling. Sometimes in the quiet, after the work crews have gone, you stand in the middle of an empty room and let the weight of what you're doing settle in. This block, once the boundary of your exile, is slowly becoming yours. You walk past your old home and feel the strangest mix of defiance and nostalgia. There's a part of you that wishes your mom would notice, that she'd feel the ground shifting beneath her feet, that she'd see the for sale signs vanish and wonder why her world feels smaller, stranger. You're not motivated by revenge alone. The work itself is a kind of therapy, a way to claim power without having to shout. You fix up the buildings with care, rent out apartments to people who remind you of yourself, tired, hopeful, a little rough around the edges. You waive deposits for single moms, install better locks for the elderly tenants, hand out your number in case anything breaks. You find yourself becoming a caretaker, a quiet steward of lives that have also been thrown out or overlooked. Yet with every closing, every fresh coat of paint, you can't help but circle your mother's house in your mind. Does she know? Would she guess? There's a thrill in secrecy, a sense that you're not just buying buildings, but reclaiming a piece of your past with every key added to your ring. One night sitting in your kitchen, you line up your house keys on the counter. 5, then 6, then 7. You smile wry and unguarded. For the first time, you allow yourself to say it aloud just once, barely above a whisper. You own the block. The words sound good. They sound like the start of a legend. But you know the story isn't finished. Not until she finally sees you, not the exile, not the failure, but the one who came back and built something unbreakable from nothing at all. It happens almost by accident, your mother's first glimpse of the truth. You're repainting the faded awning of the corner store you just acquired when you see her across the street, pausing with her grocery bag, eyes narrowed in suspicion. She stands in front of her house surveying the familiar block, but everything is just slightly off: the new fences, the trimmed lawns, the missing for sale signs. The neighbors whisper, exchanging glances. Even the air feels tense, as if the whole street is holding its breath. You keep working, sweat dripping down your brow, brush steady in your hand. From the corner of your eye, you watch her glance from house to house, brow furrowing deeper. She talks to Mrs. Reyes from 2 doors down, who shrugs and gestures vaguely in your direction. You see your mother's lips tighten, her posture stiffen. She scans the block as if she might spot the intruder who's shifting the neighborhood's bones, but she never once considers that it could be you. Inside the store, the owner, now your tenant, tells you people are talking. The old guard doesn't like change, but I say someone needed to step in. You nod, offering a small conspiratorial smile, your secret burning in your chest. There's power in anonymity, but there's also a quiet ache. Part of you wants her to know to put the pieces together and realize whose hands have been reshaping her world. Part of you wants to stay hidden forever, building your empire in the shadows. That night, you see her standing at her window looking out over the street. She's unsettled. You can feel it in the way her lights flicker on and off, in the way she paces behind the curtains. You wonder what story she's telling herself, what ghosts she thinks haunt her block. Is she proud, anxious, angry? You'll never know unless you make yourself visible, but for now you let her wonder. Days pass. The neighborhood adapts to the changes, some with grudging acceptance, others with silent gratitude. You keep your head down, letting your work speak for itself. The whispers grow. Who owns the buildings? Who's behind the upgrades? You're a rumor, a question mark, a shadow in plain sight. Your mother starts asking neighbors for answers, but no one quite knows, or if they do, they keep your secret. Then comes the morning you find her outside the store, arms crossed, waiting for someone. She stops you as you arrive, voice clipped. You work here now. You nod, keeping your tone light, just helping out. You say not quite lying. She studies you as if searching for something familiar. You feel the urge to confess, to finally lay your cards on the table. But you resist, savoring the slow unfolding game. Her questions grow more frequent, her suspicions sharper. You hear from a tenant that she started calling the property office, trying to trace the new landlord. The irony isn't lost on you. The woman who locked you out is desperate to find the person holding all the keys. You laugh to yourself. At night, the sound equal parts joy and disbelief. You fix up another house, repaint a porch, plant flowers, where weeds once choked the sidewalk. You pour yourself into every project, letting your silent presence ripple out across the block. The neighborhood, once indifferent or hostile, begins to greet you with nods, waves, invitations for coffee. You become the pulse of the street, a quiet force, steady and unstoppable. And each time your mother's eyes linger a moment longer, each time you catch her watching, you feel a thrill beneath your calm exterior. She's beginning to sense it, to suspect. You wonder how long it will take before she finally truly sees you. Not just as her exiled child, but as the architect of everything she thought she controlled. You plan the block party with the precision of a heist. Invitations slip under doors and into mailboxes, each one unsigned but unmistakably festive. You arrange for music, food trucks, balloons, nothing too fancy, but enough to turn every head on the street. When the day arrives, the neighborhood hums with curiosity. Children dart between folding tables, neighbors mingle on stoops, and the music drifts up through the open windows. The air is charged electric with anticipation. You keep to the background, circulating with trays of snacks, exchanging small talk, watching the crowd for a particular face. You spot your mother before she sees you. She stands near her gate arms, folded face tight with suspicion, as if the party itself might be a threat. She scans the decorations, the crowd, the tables loaded with food, searching for the host. For the first time in ages, you see her as just another guest, uncertain, slightly out of place, grasping for control in a world that's shifted beneath her feet. As the afternoon stretches on, the tension becomes a game. You greet her politely when your paths cross, offering her a drink, pretending not to notice the way she studies you. There's a moment, a small subtle thing, when her hand brushes yours as you pass a plate of cookies. She recoils, then catches herself, lips pressing into a line. You smile, gentle, unthreatening, and move on. You want her to feel welcome, but not at home. When dusk falls and the music softens, you climb onto the makeshift stage, really just a borrowed milk crate behind the DJ table. You clear your throat, Raise your hand and wait for the murmurs to die down. Faces turn toward you, some expectant, others surprised. You feel their eyes on you, the collective weight of the block's attention. And suddenly, the years of exile, anger, and ambition crystallize into something steady. You take a breath, let your voice ring out clear and calm. "Thank you for coming," you say, meeting each neighbor's gaze. "This block has always meant a lot to me. It's where I grew up, where I learned about family, about community, about starting over." The crowd nods some faces, softening others, glancing curiously at your mother, who stands at the edge, arms still crossed, mask slipping. You hold up a stack of envelopes, one for each neighbor, and one with your mother's name in crisp, careful print. "I want everyone here to know all these homes, all these storefronts, they're under new ownership. Someone who cares. Someone who remembers what it's like to need a fresh start." The neighbors cheer, exchanging looks of relief and excitement. Then you step down, crossing the grass to where your mother stands, frozen, the crowd parting silently around you. You hand her the invitation, an old photograph tucked inside that beach picture she'd thought was lost. For a moment, the mask drops. She looks at you, really looks, and there's a flicker of recognition, confusion, even awe. "You," she whispers. You nod, smile slyly. "I bought the block, Mom. Every home you can see from here." She sways, stunned, the words sinking in. The crowd surges back into laughter and music, the party roaring on. You and your mother stand at the edge of it all, sharing a silence thick with everything unsaid. The power dynamic is unrecognizable. For the first time, you are not the child begging for entry, but the one opening every door. There's a satisfaction in her stunned apology, a quiet sense of arrival you can't quite put into words. The night wraps around you, both soft and full of possibility, and you realize sometimes the best revenge isn't payback at all, but becoming someone she could never have imagined. In the days after the party, the neighborhood glows with an afterimage of celebration. Strangers now greet you by name. Kids draw hopscotch lines across the sidewalk in rainbow chalk. Even the air feels easier to breathe, as if you've exorcised something dark that once lingered between the houses. But in your own home, the one you fought for, fixed up and filled with your stubborn hope, there's a different kind of quiet. Your mother's invitation sits on the kitchen table unopened since the night you pressed it into her hand. You find yourself replaying her stunned face, the way her mouth fell open, the question caught in her eyes. She hasn't called, not yet, but you know she will. You sense her footsteps on the block, her voice hushed when neighbors mention your name, her gaze lingering on every small change. One morning, as you water the flowers you planted beneath her old bedroom window, you see her watching you from behind the curtain. There's a pause, a little shiver of shared memory, and for a heartbeat, you're both children. Again, her uncertain and young, you hopeful and wanting. The call comes on a rainy Sunday. You answer with a calmness you didn't know you possessed. Her voice is small, rough at the edges. She tries to apologize, but words fail her. There's too much history, too many years, and wounds piled high. Instead, she simply asks if she can see you, if she can visit. You agree, not out of obligation, but because the balance of power has shifted, and you finally have the choice. She arrives with an umbrella and a trembling smile. She sits at your kitchen table, eyes scanning the room for signs of the child she left behind. You offer her tea in the chipped mug you carried from your first studio, your own strange trophy. The conversation stumbles, then finds its feet. She asks about your tenants, your renovations, the future. For the first time, you see uncertainty in her, the woman who changed the locks, now searching for a way back inside. There's a quiet satisfaction in every answer you give, but also something softer, older and harder to name. You listen to her apology, her regrets tumbling out in half sentences and sighs. She admits she was scared of change, of you growing up, of losing what little control she had. She says she was wrong. You let her speak, then you let the silence fill the space. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it is acknowledgement. A gentle, necessary first step. You walk her to the door, umbrella in hand, the rain painting silver lines on the sidewalk. She hesitates, then turns and hugs you, a real hug, tight and trembling, nothing held back. For a moment, all the years of anger and longing collapse into a single heartbeat. When she leaves, you watch her disappear down the block, the umbrella bobbing like a buoy on the gray tide of the street. That night, you sit at your window, watching the lights flick on across every house you now own. Your phone buzzes with a message from a tenant, a thank you for fixing a leak, and you reply with a smile. You realize you've built more than an empire of deeds and contracts. You've built a life that's truly your own, a place where no one can lock you out again. And as you finally rest, you understand that power isn't about holding the keys. It's about choosing what doors you'll open and who you'll let inside.